Hello and welcome to this video, which is a portion of the annual report for Abingdon Episcopal Church for the year 2020. Throughout the year 2020, as we faced pandemic, we focused on being community. This series of conversations are by members of our community as we focus on the ministries that we did. As we think back to when the church was founded, as we read in the book of Acts, there are many characteristics which define the church. As we find ourselves in a new situation, we too had to ask ourselves, what are we being as we learn to be the church? As the early church did, they had to learn. As we have had to do in this pandemic, we have had to learn. I hope you'll enjoy this conversation with members of Abingdon Church as we explore how we learned and affirmed our opportunity to be the church God has called us to be. So our focus question for this report has been, how did the church in 2020 at Abingdon evidence it was the church? And one of the things the church does is forms people and raises them up. And that's why we've got this conversation here about people being involved in formation. And part of formation is bringing people together and networking them and taking challenges and risks. And so where did we see this taking place this year?
Well, I think one of the first things that come to mind is the networking for the pumpkin sale that we were planning for October, with going out into the community and having businesses work with us to try to figure out how to handle the guidelines for the COVID, and working with trying to develop things so the kids could get out in a safe location and play and get away from having to stay home all the time. However, because of things beyond our control, the pumpkins did not arrive, but we made good contacts with the community. And we have a lot of things that will be in our thoughts for the future activities in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing I love about that is how in this year so many lines have been blurred, and so what is out is in, and so we got this community come together, and also it's been a year where we've had to take chances, and those chances don't always work out. So but to not take chances means we don't grow, and so we can't always do what's safe. And part of formation this year has been taking those new opportunities and new things going on. What else do y'all think about?
That brings to mind the women's spirituality group. We took a lot of chances, and the format changed several times. Tony Hogg did an amazing job of taking huge leaps of faith and contacting people that we wouldn't have been able to get had we all been in person. And just having that opportunity to be on Zoom allowed us to connect with people inside of our church, but to expand our community as well to friends and family who we don't get to see all that often, but who we felt could connect in this way as a group of women. And it's been a really great cathartic group just to find different ways to reach each other and to think about our spirituality and to connect over Zoom. So that's been really great. It's been, I feel like I personally have taken more risks this year as, being part of the church community, because I've had the opportunity through all of the technology. Being on vestry has been easier for me in some ways because I could be at home and kind of support my husband who's dealing with the crazy toddlers downstairs, and still get to say goodnight to them and be here and also be, on planning committees for women's spirituality and other things, just because I can do it from work and on Zoom. So it's been really great for me because I've been able to connect with lots of different people who I didn't know before this year, just virtue of being able to do it. And that's so good in those kinds of ways.
Well, in addition to connecting on Zoom and Facebook and all of those things, we really made an effort to connect personally with the families and children in the church. So there have been adults sending cards of support to college students and to the younger children. Thank yous for being in the pageant and things like that. And we've also hand delivered a lot of materials for Faith at Home and Formation at Home. So we deliver a bag and wave and be able to talk to people from a safe distance. But it's been really nice to be able to actually see people in person. And folks have been so welcoming, and they're so glad to see someone from the church. And that's been really heartwarming.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think one thing is that after the Christmas pageant, I was talking to some older parishioners, and the question they were always asking was, who is the kid with this? Who is the kid with this? And so I think one of the things with the connecting, and whether it's stuff at home but electronic, was that people were coming and being active in formation that weren't active before the pandemic. Or active in new ways, and people would say, who is the kid that was that part in the pageant? And I saw that in the Tuesday night class also. We had in the adult class, we had more attendance than we have before the pandemic in those classes. So interesting way of that too.
Well, clearly, the health situation in our communities pushed us to find new ways to kind of connect to each other, and realizing that is probably the heart, not probably, is the heart of community, is staying in touch with each other. And it has been an absolute treat to watch some of these come together. Ty participated in many of the church activities, but to watch them get their costumes together and get ready for this wonderful Christmas pageant that we had was absolutely it was exciting because they were excited. And then to sit with them and eat popcorn and watch the thing go by and that's me. It was really great. And I think through the Sunday school Zoom meetings, a lot of the children got to meet each other. And that was really, they really didn't know each other necessarily at church. Some could be, a different service. And so it was interesting to watch the relationships with the younger children grow. And it was great. And then if you think about it, coffee hour has a pretty steady attendance. And that's another opportunity that has been given to us to be comfortable and get together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, and speaking of Sunday school, we've been able to lead in a different way. Which I think has really benefited the children. We read different books, we tell stories. Of course, we told stories every single day.
Yeah.
Summer and the fall. And our children really have a good grasp of what's in the Bible now.
Yes, they do.
And so Mel and I were able to talk with the children in a very personal way and sing songs about each of the stories. So it was somehow more freeing, actually, to be able to do it that way. What was your favorite part, Mel?
Of course, the music. But we had a lot more, as we became more familiar with Zoom, and we could put together some animation and let the kids see stories rather than just hear the stories. Mm-hmm. And I think that is another way of getting across the message. And singing the songs, the kids are just really they're so joyful when they're singing our songs, and they're just ones you want to move to. You can see them moving around and just waiting for the activity to happen.
Well, Mel, I wake up about 5 days a week to hearing those songs. being sung every morning. That's the first thing that happens. And I know where it comes from.
Yeah, well, yes. But but what this has allowed me, since when I was going into the church, I was the 8 o'clocker, and I missed a lot of the families that would come to the later service. And I have met them through this activity and through our formation. And I know the kids, I know the family, we laugh together, we talk, it really has opened up a lot of community.
Well, it's been for a lot of us, a very personal way. I mean, so I get to see inside the Byrne's living room. So, I mean, I think I've been there physically once or twice, but I get to see what's taking place. Everybody, I think I've had in 10 years, I've probably had maybe 50 people total in my office. I've had my office like all the time. So whether it's in our cars and cribs and beds and living rooms, it's like, we've had formation things taking place in this electronic format, but very intimate ways and very personal ways. And I think about I think about the early church, and like you tell stories, but it's one person hearing a story from one person, and then that gets repeated, and how we're formed up in that way.
Yeah, that really kind of makes me long for when we used to have our storytelling, and when we gathered, that was always kind of personal, and it always had a pretty good attendance. So that was was an important thing.
Well, I overhear Jen mentors the EFM class, and I overhear that a little bit. I don't listen in too much, but one of the adult classes taking place, and how they're having interactions online, and then supporting each other by taking each other casseroles and caring for each other, so that formation is forming the community as well. Yeah. So many things coming out of this that we want to raise up, and I just want all of y'all have been involved in different ways. So any other thoughts we want to share back on 2020 as we sort of wrap up this conversation?
Well, I'd like to just remember and with gratitude the response to the Reverse Advent project that the entire church took part in. It was a way of keeping Advent, preparing, thinking about the journey that the Holy Family made toward Jerusalem. And anyway, it was a very good thing. We collected warm clothing and food and Bethlehem.
Yeah.
It was toward, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it was, but anyway, as the parents to be traveled toward Bethlehem, they needed food and clothing and toiletries and finally things for babies. And we, as a church, we collected those items and gave them out to groups within the county that did good work for the homeless, for the food insecure, for children that needed toys to learn with.
I think the opportunities that we were kind of given in the harvest dinner, where we ate at home and we cooked with our families. I know in our case, because we had a family around us and from two different Episcopal churches, which was nice, but it was really kind of a warm and well thought out kind of deal, and we enjoyed the meal. We've had it a couple of times since, and it was to us, we were an exit at that time, but it did give us this sense of community as we were putting that together. That was, I thought, one of the more enjoyable events.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Thanksgiving dinner is always fun for us. Jay and I, the past 2 years of Carter, this year we got to be even more a part of it as we kind of helped to gather the food and get the donations. And so we had a great time connecting with the group that was doing that. And I talked to Pam Reynolds several times. It was fun getting to know her a little bit more. And then the girls got to do videos, which they loved and was so much fun for us. They were hilarious. And And so it was just, another way where we were able to connect at home and then take that into the church and talk to different people and then take that to the community. So our church is able to connect on different levels with different people. And I've had such a good time with all the people that I've met in the church this year. And then being able to take our camaraderie out to the community has been really nice. And I think that's reflected in all the things that we have been able to do and all the new things that we've been able to do this year and the different ways that we've been able to do those things.
Yeah, I think the challenge that we would have that the church had before the pandemic was you teach ideals and lessons in the Sunday school classroom, and you hope that they are transferred in. The objective is not to teach people how to memorize scripture so when they're in the classroom they get a gold star or something. The objective is to say, how do we form these people up to be responsible, loving Christians in the world? And the blessing of the pandemic is that the whole world is turned into the classroom. And so it's like we've gone into homes, we've gone to integrating all those pieces, and the challenge of that is now you got this huge classroom. So how do you connect with it all? And so it's just been fun to see the ways it's been forming people for different things and sort of nudging along that growth of Christian souls, very young ones, older ones, ones that are new to us, ones that are very familiar to us. So all that way. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the conversation, for all you're doing, for your prayers, for all that's going on to we as a church raise up disciples for our Lord. It's been a fun conversation. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this conversation with members of Abingdon Church as we've explored how the church has been the church in 2020. There are a series of 8 videos that comprise this annual report. Hope you'll watch them all. And please join us for worship, service, and faith. Abingdon Church.